Now, the longest running talk show in the Central Panhandle. Ask the Master Auto Technician with James Morris on Fox News Radio 94.5 WFLA.
All right, well, there's no one called about evap codes. I guess it's too early in the morning for someone to get their head wrapped around the idea of an evaporative emission code and a check engine light.
Yeah, most technicians don't like to wrap their head around that any time of the week.
Even my technicians don't like to wrap their head around an evap code and go, oh, God, not an evap code. But because sometimes it's more involved than just changing a gas cap. It's more involved than a hose. I mean, sometimes you have to pull sometimes you have to pull the gas tank down because you've got a bad pressure sensor. There's a lot of things it could be. Who we got on the phone, Anna Marie?
We've got Dan on the phone. Dan? He's got a question about batteries, I think.
Dan, what's your question about batteries?
Well, my van wouldn't start the other day. I put it in the key, and I turned it, nothing happened. Mm-hmm. So I figured out, well, let's just take the battery out to get it looked at. And they said, oh, this is dead. Well, I put a charger on there before we took it anywhere, and my charger said, well, that's 100% charge just as soon as I connected it to the posts. I'm like, what?
Well, yes, and what it does is, or how a battery charger works, it looks at the amount of resistance it takes to charge up a battery. If you've got a cell that's shorted out, like that fluff that's on the lead cells will fall down to the bottom of the battery when it's charging up. If it falls down and shorts out the cell, makes complete contact with that cell on the bottom for the other cells, it'll short the battery out, and so that means there's less resistance, so the battery says, I'm fully charged. And it's really not.
Wow.
And it's shorted out internally, and when that happens, it's normally just like someone turned a switch. It happens instantly, and I've seen some car batteries that problem will happen. One day it'll be dead. The next day they go out there and they jump the car off and they drive it, and it works fine. And then the next day it's dead, and I'm sitting there going, man, you got a problem. And usually when that happens, they end up destroying the alternator because that poor little alternator is trying to charge up a dead battery, and it doesn't know any better.
Wow.
And
next thing would be the alternator, probably.
Well, so it was a good advice to do. As a shop that sold you the battery, take it back there. Most of them have a Midtronics. That's what you're asking for, a Midtronics battery tester. And it's a conductivity test. It's the new style of checking batteries out. And it actually looks at the diode ripple pattern.
Yeah.
The diode ripple pattern, that's not a whine. But some people say, hey, is that a whine? No. The ripple is not a whine. It's the pattern it's making. And they can see if you've got a weak diode in there by the pattern it's making. Any shop worth their salt out there will have a lab scope or a Midtronics battery tester. I know Sears has that tester. I have just about every shop I know has a Midtronics battery tester, especially if they sell interstate batteries. They have one because they're required to have that piece of equipment. But that's something that ends up happening. A lot of people don't realize that a dead battery or weak battery will cause their alternator to die a premature death.
Do you know anything about trolling motor batteries,
Yeah, they're deep cycle.
Well, I've got one. I think I got one that's too small. I mean, it'll be okay, I guess, but I was disappointed. It says 24 DC, and I usually have a 27 DC. Hey, what's the real difference there?
Well, I don't even know. So you're saying 24, that's the 24, and you're talking about the type. You got a 24 and a 27?
Right. I guess that's how long they last.
Well, no. That's the size, where the battery posts are, where they're positioned, the depth, the height. You got 24 series, 65 series, 91 series.
Right.
Those are what they call. But what you have to do is go by the cold cranking amps, I guess. I know that's on regular batteries. I'm not a deep cycle guy. You go by cold cranking amps and what they're rated at. The advantage of a deep cycle battery, like you're talking about, they can be completely discharged and recharged without any ill effects. Whereas a car battery, like what you have in your van or your car, once they get discharged completely and charged back up a couple times, that's it. You can throw it away.
Wow.
That battery will be no good anymore. They can only take about 2 complete discharges, and you better be looking for another one. I've had people come in with batteries that were 6 months old and going, how come it's bad? And I'll look at it and go, well, one thing is it's not tight. You don't have it tightened down inside your car and it's bouncing around. That's the main reason. And probably you've got a drain on it someplace, whether external or internal, has drained the battery down completely to the point it had to be recharged. And I asked him, I said, have you had to recharge the battery? Yeah, I had to recharge it twice. I left the lights on or whatever. I said, well, that kills them. It'll kill them dead as a doornail where you can't get a sufficient charge on. Remember, an alternator maintains a charged battery. So if you got 12.6 volts in your battery, and you put it in, 12.6 is fully charged. and you put it in your car, and your alternator will keep it at 12.6. If you put a 12.3 volt battery in there, which is a dead battery technically, it's half charged, 12.3, it will not get any higher than 12.3.
Wow.
That's how it works. Did that help you out, Dan?
Yeah, I sure did. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for calling, Dan. I got Leroy or Leroy on a 03 Grand Marquis. Am I saying it right? Is it Leroy or Leroy?
Either way.
Either way. All right. What's up, fella?
I got all my lights work.
None of your lights work?
All of them. They work.
Okay.
But the headlights don't come on.
Let me get this straight now. All your lights work.
Right. Flashers, emergency
Okay.
flashers, turn signals, tail light,
Okay.
top light, but no headlight.
Now, what kind of car is it again? 03?
R3 Grand Marquis.
Okay. Don't you, in your headlight switch in the dash that you pull out on that model?
Oh, that I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking it is. I think you have to pull out. Okay.
No, you turn it.
Yours is a turn. Okay,
Yeah.
hang on. You know what? That might be the multifunction switch. I've run across that before. Let me go over here. Headlight's not working. I think I remember. It's a 2003 Grand Marquis, you said?
Correct.
All right, hang on a little second. Just take just a second. Let me go over here. I think you're going to find it's a multifunction switch. I'm just guessing right here. It's a Grand... Lincoln makes the Grand Marquis. No, Mercury makes that one. Hang
Ford
on.
makes it.
Ford,
yeah.
Mercury,
Grand Marquis.
yeah. I got to make sure I get the right one here. Grand Marquis. All right, I'm going to put down 4.6. I'm going to put headlights not functioning, and maybe to give me an idea, but I think I remember there's a big problem with headlamps. Let's go headlamps. Let's see what it says about headlamps. Let's see if it puts you something out. What I've had, the multifunction switch on these are notorious for not working, and everything else will work except one area. Headlights intermittently quit working on their own, and there's 39 saying the lighting control module, the LCM, was defective, and one with a headlight switch and one with a bad connector. But most everybody's telling me no headlight operation. The parking, the running lights, the dash illumination, interior lights all work properly.
Right.
And everyone's telling me right here the lighting control module.
Where is it located?
I knew you were going to ask that. It's underneath the dash. Let me go over here to another website, and it'll tell me. And my wife's telling me I got another phone call question.
Okay, I can call Lincoln Mercury and find out where it's at.
Well, the best thing you're probably going to, here's what I'm going to recommend. Before you buy that, have someone check it out, because it could be a fuse.
Okay.
I mean, that would be the best thing, because the lighting control module, it's underneath the dash, usually by the, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going by memory, it's on the left side of the steering column, underneath the dash, and it's a module.
Okay.
All right, but have it checked out, because it could just be a fuse first.
I'll
okay?
do it.
All right, thanks for calling, Leroy.
Right.
All right, I got another caller on here. My wife's going to get me on there in just a second, and I think it's a battery question. What do we got, Anna Marie? I got a battery question. Paul with a battery on a lawnmower. Paul, what's your question about a battery or a lawnmower?
Yeah, actually, well, it's two separate
All right.
things. The battery question I have actually is not one that I was planning on asking, but when you were talking earlier,
all right.
The question I have on that is, batteries don't seem to last any more than about 3, maybe 4 years
3
anymore.
years, yep.
And
that's it.
And it's crazy because I can remember, I'm not that old, but I certainly can remember getting 6, 7 years out of batteries without a whole heck of a lot of problems.
Where were you living when they were getting 6, 7 years?
Right down here in Panama.
Okay, because normally I've been here 32 years in Panama City working on cars for about 40. The average lifespan in the South is about 3 years due to the heat. Now, if you live in Canada, I've got people, some of the snowbirds that I teach class at Gulf Coast State College, or when I teach a maintenance class, they brag about their 8 and 9 year old batteries. I just kind of look at them and go, man, you wouldn't you'd be on your 3rd or 4th battery here in Panama City. But you're right. I don't know about in the past, but it seemed like all my life, after 3 years, they threw away. Maybe it's just built-in obsolescence. And it might be it, because they have to keep the weight down on the vehicle, and batteries they've suffered too. An average weight of a battery has dropped about 10%. They're not as heavy as they used to be. They've done a lot more changing around like they used to. But I'll check. But in my experience, in the last 30 years, it's been about 3 years on batteries down here. That's it. No more, no less.
Well, have they? I mean, I heard you mention something about a diode in the battery.
No, diode in the alternator.
Oh.
Yeah, you have
okay.
diodes or swing gates to let electricity go one direction only.
Sorry, I was thinking, well, okay, so that's something new.
That is new for me too. Yeah, I'd love to have a diode on the battery. Lets the charging come in, but nothing going out. I don't know. But
Sorry, I just like I said, so I had to ask a question about that because I was thinking, okay, so they really have changed technology on everything to do
no,
with
they have
vehicles.
changed now. They have changed the technology on some of them, where the actual individual cells are individually wrapped in baggies, where the fluff will not fall down to the bottom and short out the battery.
Well, that's good.
That is some new technology that's coming out, and they're also taking some metal and they're extruding it and keeping it all one piece instead of adding metal to it, and where they stretch it out. So there's a lot of new technologies coming out about batteries that it's pretty impressive. I only got about 30 seconds left, and I got to get Jay Lott on after break. Is there any other questions I need to look up while we go on break?
Actually, no. I was just going to ask about the small engine carburetor.
Well, to tell you what, when we get back after Jay Lott, hang on. We'll get to your carburetor question about your small engine. Hey, this is James Morris along with Anna Marie and Dan the Man. We got Jay Lott coming on, and if you're going to be watching tomorrow morning or whatever on television, we'll talk more. You'll see about Jay. We'll be right back.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.